It's Hip Hop and R&B on 103.5 The Beat with Papa Keith live. Very special guest, and I would like to consider him a very good friend of mine. Mr. Asa Sealy's in the building. What's up, King?
I'm alive, man. Happy to be here. Blessed.
We're glad to have you, King.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, for sure,
Always an honor when I'm on your show.
Listen, man, it's always good times with you and I, man.
Yes.
You are actually from the island where my parents were born.
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, Trinity
you know
to
what
the
I mean?
bone.
Trinity to the bone. So, that holds a special place in my heart. And I was just talking to somebody on a call earlier today about how us as Trinidadians need to really do a better job of looking out for one another. In a general sense, black people, we always look at, Koreans and Jewish people and how they stick together and stuff like that. I don't think black people have an issue sticking together, but us as Trinidadians, we could definitely do a better job. You know what I mean?
I think Caribbean on the whole, though, I think there's a lot of division when you look at the region and the different islands. But I think you're right. Even as an island, Trinidad and Tobago, that division there between the two islands is real.
It's crazy, and the Twin Islands. But, it's something as simple as like Kess coming, and how many Trini food trucks do you have?
Yeah. Well,
right. You have 5 food trucks and 4 of them Jamaican, 1 Trini.
Correct.
Like, that's a problem.
How many Trini food trucks are there?
I'm sure there's a lot, but it's the fact that we don't, we have, there used to be this thing that I would say our parents had that I would really like to see us break, right? Yeah. For instance, me, in this position I'm in, if I see a younger person with ambition and talent, I pull them up.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, come, let me show you something, there's this old school thing where you have to come kiss the ring.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Well, he ain't called me.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
That's what he do, or he's interested in that because he ain't call you. Yeah. Then what's your legacy gonna look like?
I learned that after 40. I don't want to date myself on your show, but
right.
After I turned 40, I realized that it's about taking those life experiences and passing it on, and not really holding it close to your chest where you have to come and put in the same amount of time I did to get to where I was, to get access to the information. And to be honest, the more I have shared, the further I have gotten. So, I try to impart that knowledge on the younger generation to say, listen, it's about helping others. Because when you help others, it's funny how the universe works.
Yeah.
It just elevates you to a point where you're just like, you know what, all you want to do is help now.
Yes.
So I'm in that place in my life where, I'm trying to use my experiences to elevate the youth, the younger generation, people that dedicated to moving in a positive light. So,
welcome to our world.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? So I think this is the perfect segue now to present why you're here joining us today. Happy to have you here. Please, Asa, let us know.
Well, it's Men's Mental Health Month, right? And I took it upon myself in the month of June to launch a podcast, right?
Nice.
And the podcast is called the Strpd Club, Strpd Club. And basically, it's a platform where I am putting myself out there, showing a vulnerable side in the hopes of influencing other men, no matter what race you come from, but to venture into spaces and to speak about topics that we typically have been taught not to address.
The taboo.
Yeah. Those that make you feel less than a man, right? And it's been stripping, for me, therapeutic. And again, puts me in a position where my stories are helping other men. And, I'm proud. I'm proud of what I'm doing now. I've done a lot in the U.S., and this has been, I think, one of my most significant contributions towards that legacy that you referred to. My kids are going to see a different side of me. Coming out of situations that I hadn't planned on getting myself into, and then positioning myself to be an asset for others, a resource for others. And I said it's about elevating the future.
Well, Strpd, right?
Yeah.
When can people catch Stripped?
Well, it is every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.
Nice.
Lucky for me, I got the approval to be on the iHeart podcast channel.
Yes,
so they can
welcome
also
to the family.
Yeah, you can also search for it there. But also available across all other streaming platforms.
Yes.
So I urge not just men, but women too, because it gives you a different perspective in terms of how men think.
Well, trust me, I used to use Kevin Samuels as my.
Oh.
I used to send Kevin Samuels clips to women all the time because it's like just to understand. Like, I mean, he would just deal with it in a raw sense,
very raw.
But sometimes that's the best way to kind of get your point across. So. So I understand that it is for women as well as men for them to kind of get some insight into how we think and feel, right?
Correct. And I've been most surprised by the feedback that I've gotten from men. It took me some time. I was going to launch it at the beginning of the year, and there was this fear around the entire idea about putting myself out there. And, it just worked out that I was ready for it in June, and June happened to be Men's Mental Health Month. So, again, the universe working in its magical ways. But when I put it out, I got this response from men, and most importantly, Caribbean men.
Nice.
That they started to reach out and share their stories, and have volunteered to also come onto the podcast to speak about, how life has changed and molded them from the relationships they've had with their father to successful marriages, to failed marriages, to just dealing with life on the whole. And some of them have actually broken down on the phone with me.
Wow.
So my goal to create that safe space for men to feel it's okay to be vulnerable, and that doesn't make you less of a man.
Right.
Has really kind of taken off.
Differently from how we've been raised, right?
Correct.
Don't cry. Hush your mouth.
Yeah.
You
Keep
couldn't
it
even
moving.
show emotion as a kid with certain Caribbean parents.
Cry, you get more licks.
You get more punishment when you cry, for sure.
You know.
So it's that's something, man. That's growth.
Yeah.
I want to take it back a little further, because you do have a pretty cool history here in South Florida. So I want to get people to tap into to you a little bit. Let's talk about when you first came to the States and how you just kind of worked your way through corporate America and the different jobs and titles you've had and entrepreneurial kicks. Can you get into that?
Well, it's interesting enough. My episode tomorrow is about the boy who left Trinidad with 2 suitcases and came to America.
Wow.
And how my first set of years in college really shaped me. Because, you come from a place where you think that you have it all. And then you come up to America and you see there are layers to life, right? And I got into a position where I went from a soccer scholarship, to being excited by all of the glitz and glamour of the American dream, so to speak, which really kind of like put me in a position where I was curious on how I can get access to that. And that led me to becoming an entrepreneur or a hustler back in the day, before I even knew what that really was, right? I found myself easily identifying opportunities and connecting with people. And I kind of mesh both of those passions together and started my business in college. Worked at FIU radio station back in the day as the promotions director. And that's where it really started. Got affiliated with the music record labels back then. That's when they were out in the streets sniping, putting up posters. Did some really cool campaigns with Daddy Yankee, Slim Thug, Keisha Cole, when those artists were just getting out. But then working in the hip hop scene, there was something missing for me. I didn't feel at home, right? I was making money. I was doing great things. I was around all of these artists and feeling like I had made it. And then Miami Carnival came knocking at my door. And that was my introduction to connecting to my roots back home.
Yeah.
And I really kind of took that opportunity with Miami Carnival and started on the festival production side. And since then, have been very much, knee deep. I mean, I wouldn't say knee deep. I'm drowning in Caribbean culture right now, being a real advocate for our contributions to the American society. And that led me to open a non-for-profit, Caribbean American Heritage Florida. And we were very instrumental in getting June recognized as Caribbean American Heritage Month back in 2006. That's when George Bush was our president. And every year we celebrate. We're in the month of June, Men's Mental Health Month, but it's still Caribbean American Heritage Month.
Yes.
Very significant time for us as a diaspora, where we get to celebrate everything Caribbean, culture, music, food. And I'm proud to have been part of that journey, where we're positioning our people to be, recognized. And it's good to see more of us in commissioner seats, in government, and really putting ourselves out there and using our influence to make it a better life for our Caribbean nationals in the U.S.
That's a fact. Also had a stint with Carib.
Yeah, Carib was actually a client. That was pretty interesting. Carib was a client. Carib, if you don't know, Carib Lager, 97% market share throughout the Caribbean region. Chances are, if you've gone to a Caribbean island, you've enjoyed a Carib. And Carib first got into the U.S. and they had their offices in Doral, and I got an opportunity to come on back then as their marketing director. And I did 2 years where we were really trying to get the product out there. Unfortunately for the brand, it was being imported. Sat on the docks for a little too long. And by the time it got to the consumer, the beer was a little tainted, right? The quality and taste was compromised. So they decided they needed to fix that. I went back from being an employee then to then now still having that contract as a contractor with them. And they came out of the market, fixed their situation. They bought a brewery in Cape Canaveral, which they're currently brewing Carib locally, just 30 minutes east of Orlando. And in that acquisition, they brought me back in.
Gotcha.
To help with that rollout. I did another 2 years with them there, and but I have an entrepreneur spirit, right? So it is difficult to put me in a position where somebody is telling me, get up at this time, go to sleep at this time, clock in, clock out.
Right.
And I try to instill to my kids now that different perspective in terms of how we look at, creating the life you want, right? Fast forward, COVID hit, lost all of my contracts. I was the agency on file for Caribbean Airlines, did work with Digicel, a bunch of major Caribbean brands that operate in the U.S. Carib called me, canceled their contract with me, and but at the same time offered me a full-time position as their marketing director. They were going through a global rebrand with the entire company. They were doing over the brewery, doing over their labels, and then I got an opportunity to work on that project with Khalid, Shensea, Kerwin Dubois, where we shot that music video commercial, so to speak, which was a significant milestone for me. I had never gotten to work on that level and have so much influence in terms of the final product. Shout out to Gil Green. Gil did amazing with the visuals. But yeah, it took Carib to another level, which I was part of. And I actually did my 2 years. Well, no, I didn't do 2 years. I passed my 2-year window with them, and I actually did 5 years until I left at the end of last year, end of 2024, and ended up going back into doing my own thing.
Yeah.
So again, back into the Caribbean, I launched a company called Strpd USA. And in the food and beverage space, we are assisting brands who are looking to enter the U.S. market and giving them the tools necessary to be successful over here.
with the experience that you've just
Correct.
forementioned. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Asa, man, your story is an amazing one, which is why I wanted to also pull that out of you besides, you coming to talk about the podcast, because it kind of makes everything come full circle.
Well, it's documented now. So.
Right. My brother, I'm very, very proud of you. Seriously. Well, Miami Carnival. If we could just touch on that,
Miami
very
Carnival
briefly.
was a dear place in my heart, right?
Yeah.
Because they really got me to connect to my roots.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had a carnival in Miami, to be honest. I was so heavy on speeding in the hip hop side, doing How Can I Be Down with Peter Thomas on Miami Beach, running Fat Farm for Russell Simmons, opening that store on Miami Beach back in the day. And then Irie was, even with Caribbean roots, he was still very much in mainstream, still is, But Miami Carnival came calling, and I have been able to influence them a great deal in terms of, trying to get the carnival to be more of a global representation of what we know to be carnival. Because, facts is that we are not Trinidad. And to try to duplicate Trinidad Carnival outside of Trinidad, it's very difficult.
Yeah, but I think that, and I'm saying this with all the love, I think that if there was a worse way possible to do it, that we have found that in Miami Carnival.
Definitely.
So although nothing's going to be like Trinidad, at least New York and other places, and even Toronto and other places, it's copable. You know what I'm saying? And you can see it can... it's feasible and can grow.
Yeah.
My frustration, also why I got involved with wanting to try to understand and shape and connect with, Miami Carnival is that, we know that Carnival is near and dear to us. And especially as a younger generation, we want to see it hold its spirit.
Correct.
You understand? And, the fact that nobody could see you on the road, it's just a deal breaker for me. Like,
there are a lot of challenges in terms of production, producing Miami Carnival. I've been involved with Miami Carnival for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
From when it was at Bicentennial Park.
I remember that.
On the
road. It was on slightly before that when it was on South Beach.
Yeah, before that. You're going back to the beginning, right? But I came in and was under Selman Lewis as his right hand. Selman really was one that made me appreciate how my contribution could really affect the future. And then the product of Carnival on its own. So, to touch on what you speak about, that experience, it's very difficult to duplicate in Miami. We've tried our best, I would say that. But there are also a lot of people involved in producing Carnival.
Yeah,
a lot of people sit around that table.
Too many.
Okay. You said it.
And we'll leave it at that.
You said it.
And we'll leave it at that. Trust me, because I don't want to,
You said it. But I am writing a book.
Okay, good.
Please. I am penning my thoughts. It's called Behind the Festival. The story of Miami Carnival.
Gotcha.
And that is my next project.
Gotcha. I cannot wait.
It is a fictional.
Yeah.
It is fictional.
Well, when you drop that book, please come back and see me, sir. All right?
I will.
I would love that opportunity. Asa Sealy in the building, my brother. Congratulations. Let everybody know about the podcast one more time, King.
You can find it at www.Strpd is spelled Strpd Club.com. New episodes drop every Wednesday at 9 a.m. And I'm just happy to be here, man. It's a safe space for men to come and be vulnerable,
Y'all check it out, and remember that, it's Men's Mental Health Month. This will be a perfect opportunity for you to tap in with that episode. Thank you so much for what you're doing, my brother. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you more, Keith.
All right.
Bless.